Good evening again. This is Seth Moore, obviously coming to you again here on Anchor by Spotify. We're going to pick back up where we left off on the other evening, and we are talking about the Black Hawaiians, and we're going to give you some more information on that. And we just want to read some things to you as a before we get started. We want to give you a tidbit of more information because I didn't give it all to you on the other evening, and we want to give that to you so you have some understanding and how all of this played out. And the way we want to start is, now you know that Hawaii is in the middle of surrounding the Pacific Ocean. You have Alaska, you have Canada, of course you have the United States, you have the Samoan Islands, and off towards the equator you're going to have Australia, Japan, China, and Russia. So you know that having this particular island was very strategic for the U.S. Okay? So we want to give you that first, so you kind of like put the pieces together. How this strategic location was advantageous for the U.S. to be able to watch Russia, China, and of course they have their allies such as Australia, Canada, and Alaska, and so forth. Okay? So let us continue, and I'm going to just, I'm going to read some stuff to you, and this way you, again, kind of have a clear history on this. Okay? So the annexation of Hawaii, 1887, U.S. Navy acquired Pearl Harbor as a refueling station. Okay, Pearl Harbor was the best harbor for what they needed to do. Closer to West Coast than Midway Island. Okay, so I'm going to just be giving you some stuff. Okay? Now the queen, the Black Queen, Liliuokalani, okay, was a nationalist. She wanted to change back the Constitution, okay? In 1893, the U.S. government minister Tuha John Stevens brought in the Marines to intimidate the Queen. They went that far. And they wanted this island really bad. They wanted it really, really bad. So they brought in the Marines. Okay, so bear with us. And as you know, we're always listening to Scott Buckley and his orchestra here on Anchor by Spotify. You're with Seth Moore again this evening at 8:08 p.m. and it is currently, I know it's that the temperature is not right. That it's not 90 out, because I know it was like 82 today, and so that is not correct. And we're going to keep you up to date with what's going on, and we're going to move on from there. So we want to give you just some brief snippets of how all of this took place. because these settlers, they came in and they created a sugar business because the island was, as you already know, ripe for these particular things to harvest and to grow. And as I told you, they brought in the Marines to remove this queen. How did the U.S. annex Hawaii? I'm going to give you a bit of information on that. We're going to be reading some things to you briefly in a minute. Missionaries arrived in Hawaii and became sugar planters and politicians. The planters slowly gained power. Queen Liliuokalani tried to then switch power back to the monarchy, but she failed. On January 16th, 1893, the U.S. Marines landed in Honolulu and imprisoned the queen in Lolalani Palace, because she lived in the palace, a beautiful palace. And then the queen wanted to avoid bloodshed, so she surrendered to the U.S. She didn't want her people killed. Okay? And, of course, we don't know. We have no idea how many they did kill before she actually surrendered. We have no idea. Okay? And now, as I had mentioned on the other day, what the queen did in 1893, she was the last queen of Hawaii. And when she was overthrown by a party of businessmen, listen to this, who then imposed, as I read, a provisional government, Hawaii was recognized as an independent nation by many foreign nations, including the U.S. They were an independent nation before they was overthrown by the government. Now, the first president, what happened was he was not with the annexation of the island, because he was like, no, that's not right. Now, this was President Cleveland. He was not with it. President Cleveland, at the time, he learned about the coup and apologized to the queen, refusing to annex Hawaii. But what happened was he soon was out of office. And President McKinley came in and he allowed the annexation of the island of Hawaii. Okay, so he came in and, said, nah, we're going to take it. See, but President Cleveland, he had a moral code. At least he was moral. So that does say that you do have some white folks who have some morals. Okay, because he said, no, you know what? No, that's not right. Y'all going to come in there and take this. So probably what happened, and we'll get into that, anytime you don't go with the status quo, you don't go with the power structure, they'll get rid of you. Now, we got to get him out of office because, So he didn't go for it, and soon he was out of office. And then when, of course, McKinley came in, he went ahead with the annexation of Hawaii. Okay? So we hope that everyone is doing good today, is doing well, and you're healthy. You're in your stable mind, and you're able to do the things that you need to do. Okay, the U.S. It says, why did the U.S. need Hawaii? The U.S. needed Hawaii as a commercial export resource. They also valued Hawaii as a strategic location for defense. Now, I said this before. In the Pacific region, due to the Spanish-American War, the U.S. needed a mid-Pacific fueling station and naval base. And that's what the island of Hawaii is now. It's a main hub for ships, for battleships, for submarines, for all types of military training. They have missile silos there. I mean, it's totally a military, like I said before, outpost. They have everything set up there so they can keep their eyes on China, Russia, and the like. So it's seriously and strategically set up for that. Okay, so like I said, it's in the Pacific Ocean. And so the islands that surround that particular area, the indigenous islands, is Kahua and Nahua. And then they have Oahu. And then they have Molokai. And then they have, of course, Maui, and they have Lanai, and they have Konalami, and then, of course, they have Hawaii. And that's like 100 meters and kilometers, rather, and it's 50 miles within proximity of one another. So you can go from one island to the next. Yes, you can go from one island to the next, and you're able to connect with all these different islands. So let me ask you a question. I want to get some feedback from you. Now, as we all know, there's a lot of things happening in the world. We have hurricanes all over the place, mudslides. You see people fleeing from their lives, from fires. Of course, there was just a fire in Maui, as I mentioned to you on the last podcast, how that all of these people were running for their lives and fleeing Maui because they were being burnt out. And I said that allegedly, chances are, because they didn't want to sell the land. But this is by the Creator's providence too, trust me. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. Okay, so we want to examine the timeline of events. Okay, so let's do that for a moment. We'll examine the timeline of events. In 1875, treaty exempted Hawaiian sugar from U.S. tariffs. And then in 1887, Hawaiian Imperialist League forced Kalakaua to sign what they call the Baranet Treaty or the Baranet Constitution. U.S. had exclusive rights to Pearl Harbor. Now listen to this. In 1890, McKinley tariffs negatively impacts Hawaiian sugar economy. Subsidies to U.S. sugar producers force sugar prices to drop. See, this is what they do. This is exactly what they do. What they'll do is they'll come, and if you don't play their game, they will cripple your economy. Okay? Because at first, as was said, Hawaii was recognized as a sovereign nation. They had their own government. Okay? They had their own government, and they was recognized with their own government. Okay? And they was recognized at first by the United States. And then all that changed. Okay? And it says the tariffs negatively impacts Hawaii's sugar economy. Subsidies to U.S. sugar producers force sugar prices to drop. Hawaiian Imperialist League versus the Queen, Liliuokalani. Okay, and in 1893, John L. Stevens and Sanford Dole organizes revolt and overthrows Queen L. Okay, and Cleveland doesn't approve the annexation of Hawaii. After special investigations and orders Dole's provisional government to resign, Dole refuses to resign, and Cleveland reluctantly recognizes Dole's provisional government. And on July 7th, 1898, Hawaii is annexed by U.S. Spanish-American War in 1898. Now, you can bet that when Cleveland did not approve of the annexation of the island, they got rid of him. Because it's not saying this here. It says Cleveland doesn't approve annexation of Hawaii after special investigation and orders Dole's provisional government to resign. Dole refuses to resign, and Cleveland reluctantly recognizes Dole's provisional government because he knew it wasn't right. He knew it wasn't right. So they was like, best believe we got to get rid of this dude. He's in the way of what we need. We need that island because, as I read, it was strategic and advantageous for the U.S. And the annexation, it occurred on January 17th, 1893. The planters of Hawaii were plotting, listen to this, y'all. They were plotting to overthrow their queen, while they were also asking the United States for protection. Remember, we talked about the protectorate government? While they were also asking the United States for protection without the approval of the president, U.S. Marines stormed the land. The Queen had no choice but to give it up. Ain't that something? They stormed without the approval of the president. U.S. Marines stormed the land. Man, these people, man. So what I was asking, do you think that all the stuff that we are seeing today are the beginning of the plagues on these people? Now, I will say this. For those who are good souls or good people, it don't apply to you. But do you think that what we're seeing, because we're seeing a lot, and we're going to see a lot more, we're seeing the plagues of the Creator come down. And you, like I said, you haven't seen nothing yet. But I believe, not only do I believe, I know it's happening. There's a whole nother aura that's within the cosmos. There's a whole nother aura within the universe. There's a whole nother spirit. There's a whole nother energy that's in the atmosphere. And for those of you who have slightly a clue, you better get yourself straight. You better get your spiritual life right. You better get your spiritual life right, and you better be prepared for what's coming. See, because as I always say, I'm not knocking achievement on nobody, because we're all trying to achieve something. But hopefully what you're trying to achieve is for the better good of humanity, not just for you. You know, because there are too many of us, and I think a lot of us, let me say this, I think a lot of us today are starting to get it. Some of us, some of us are starting to get it. Not, I don't know if I want to say a lot, but there's more than used to be. Let me put it that way. That are really starting to get it. But some of us are not going to ever get it because we are going to stay stuck in our frame of thinking because we have a selfish, self-centered mentality about it's what I want. It's what I want. I ain't thinking about nobody else. It's just what I want. Those are the kind of people who are going to miss it. They're going to be sitting there and they ain't going to have a damn clue. When it all goes down, they ain't going to have a clue. They're going to be looking around and they're going to say, what happened? Trust me, because spiritually, they're not in tune. They're only in tune with the world. They're only in tune with what they can touch, see, feel, taste, and hear. But they never have an outer body experience because they're so in their ego carnal mind. You understand? Again, if the shoe fits, you know what to do. If it don't, you know what to do as well. But you have those individuals who are never going to get it because they're not supposed to get it. They're not supposed to get it, and there are going to be. It's just is what it is, you know, and it's a sad thing. And if you look at the king, the last monarchy of Hawaii, look at the king. The king. You could look and you could do the research yourself. Black king, black queen. And this is what these people do. They have gone around the globe and they have taken other people's stuff because they did not have anything. That's really the bottom line. That's the gist of it. Once they came out of them caves, it was on. Because they were banished. They were banished for hundreds and for thousands of years. The Kemites said, we got to rope them off. We got to rope them off because they're uncivilized. Yes, we got to rope them off. So the annexation of Hawaii with the missionary businessmen and Navy see Hawaii as base for profit and expansion. White American sugar planters came to dominate the island by the 1890s. Hawaiians attempted to regain control, but U.S. Marines, as I said, seized power. And then, of course, the result in 1898, Hawaii and its annex becomes a territory of the U.S. Okay? Became a territory of the U.S. And you can, like I said, you can do your own research and see some things for yourself. So that, but let us go here. I want to read a little bit more to you, and we're going to give me 1 minute. Okay, we're here, and we're going to give you a bit more, and we're going to be done for the evening. Um, but you see how these people have gone all over the planet, and that's why you have all these countries now that are that's why you have all these countries now that are coming together, creating this BRICS alliance, this BRICS bloc, to bring about change in the world. To bring about change in the world, and good change. What is wrong with that? What in the hell is wrong with that? What is wrong with having a world where people live in peace and harmony? Everybody's eating, everybody can prosper, everybody's safe. These people have a serious psychosis when you don't want everybody in the world to have peace, when you don't want children to be able to eat or to live safely or to live without threat. What is wrong with you? That you have to create such mayhem and havoc on the planet that you disrupt the balance of the planet. You disrupt the balance of the universe. What in the hell is wrong? You are a sick individual. You are some sick ass people where you cannot live in peace on the planet with other human beings. Something is definitely awry with you. You are messed up. And that goes for black folks who are that way as well. Anybody who's following that motto is messed up. And you do have some folks who, like they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, who look like you, but they are just as messed up. And they're following the ways of their master. They're jealous, they're envious, they're insecure. All of these things come from them. The insecure, I hate to see you prosper. I don't want to see you with anything. These are the attributes of how these people operate. I digress. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit more. Okay, so the first European contact with Hawaii was made in 1778 by Captain James Cook. In the 19th century, traders and missionaries came to the island from Europe and the United States. They often opposed the Hawaiian monarchy, favoring instead a British-style constitutional monarchy where the monarch held little power. And see, they can't go nowhere and you be over them. That's not going to work. That is not in their DNA. You can't be over them. You can't be over me. White folks, that's the problem. You can't be over me. Anybody who's an indigenous person who's ever worked in a managerial position and you have white folks under you, they gave you hell. If they were trying to create some kind of way to have you removed so that they could take your position, I've been through that. And I know many more of you have. Because they cannot stomach the fact that you are over them. No, they can't go nowhere on the planet and you're telling them what to do. This is what this Montgomery, Alabama brawl was all about. The man couldn't even tell the folks to move their damn boat. Couldn't even tell them to move their boat because you can't tell me what to do. You understand what I'm saying? Something as simple as that. Sir, we're having another vessel that's going to dock here, and if you would be so kind to move your boat so that the boat can dock and allow the people to get off, we would appreciate it. He looks at the man. I'm guessing, who are you telling what to do? And here they come running and going to jump. I mean, y'all know the story. You've seen it. So you cannot tell these people what to do. You can't. They always felt like, because we've been through that slavery portion of history, that gave them rights in perpetuity to forever tell us what to do. But remember, our history does not start off with slavery. Okay? And a lot of you who came from those areas where the British, in England, where you were dirt poor and all these other places and you didn't have anything, it was disease and couldn't read or write yourself, and all this stuff. And then you came over to the Americas. We got the worst of you, criminals who came over to America, who were dirt poor peasants who came here, and you created everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you got to take over. You got to kill. You got to maim. You got to slaughter. You got to bring diseases. You're not honest. The majority of you're not honest. You don't deal ethically with people. You know, what is wrong with you? We know what's wrong with you. They often oppose the Hawaiian monarchy, favoring instead, as I read, a British-style constitutional monarchy where the monarch held little power. Oh, they're not going to be in a place where they hold little power. No, that's never going to happen. In 1874, David Kalakaua became king and sought to reduce the power of the white missionary party, later reformed party, in the government. In 1887, angered by King Kalakaua extravagant spending and his attempts to dilute their power, a small group, now listen to this, a small group of missionary party members known as the Hawaiian League struck back at the king. Led by Lauren A. Thurston and Sanford B. Dole, the Hawaiian League drafted a new constitution, and I may have read this in the first podcast, that reduced the power of the king and increased the power of the cabinet and legislature. It also intended voting rights to wealthy non-citizens. Now, isn't that something? You gave voting rights to wealthy non-citizens. You already bogarted. You came to the island. The island is not yours. It was a sovereign island. They had their own nation. They had their own constitution. And here the hell you come. Here the hell you come. Like everywhere you go. So now, this is what happened. As I said, they extended voting rights to wealthy non-citizens while excluding Asians and restricting access for Native Hawaiians through land owning and literary provisions. Backed by a militia, the group used the threat of violence to force King Kalakaua to sign the Constitution, which became known as, I read on the other day, the Baronet Constitution. And like I said, they probably held it to his throat. King Kalakaua died in 1891. This is the black king. And was succeeded by his sister. Now, his sister went on to petition, which she had no success, though. Okay, but she went on to petition the government. Let's read what she did. Okay, after he died, his sister, Lilio Kalalani, who proposed a new constitution that would restore powers of the monarchy and extend voting rights for Native Hawaiians. The Queen's actions angered many of Hawaii's white businessmen who formed a 13-member committee of safety with the goal of overthrowing the monarchy and seeking annexation by the United States. And you know what happened after that. I don't have to tell you. And on January 29th, 1893, it was in a New York Times edition, recounted the events of the coup. And the coup happened on January 16th. Hawaiian Marshals Charles V. Wilson attempted to arrest the committee members and declare martial law. But his attempts were turned down by other government officials who feared violence. The next day, after a police officer was shot and wounded trying to halt the distribution of weapons to Committee of Safety's militia, the committee decided to put its coup into action near the Queen's Lololani's Palace in Honolulu. The committee's militia gathered and were joined by 162 U.S. Marines and Navy sailors who were ordered by John L. Stevens, U.S. Minister to Hawaii, to protect the committee. The Queen surrendered peacefully to avoid violence. We have always been peaceful. We have always been peaceful. And she said, okay, you know what? If you want it that bad, I'm going to give it to you because I'm not going to see you slaughter my people. But they're paying now. Like I said, and we've only just begun. I'm telling you, they're paying now. Okay? And the worst is yet to come. The worst is yet to come. It's written, ye shall pay, thus saith Yahweh. You are paying, and it's only starting. And I know a lot of white folks don't like this. They don't like to hear me say this, but it's true. You are going to pay. And for all of you good white souls, you have nothing to be concerned with. Okay? And you know who you are. The Committee of Safety established a provisional government headed by Mr. Dole. U.S. President Grover Cleveland opposed the provisional government and called for the Queen to be restored to power. But you know what happened with that, okay? But the Committee of Safety established the Republic of Hawaii and refused to cede power. In 1895, Hawaiian royalists became a coup against the Republic, but it did not succeed. Queen Liliuokalani was arrested for her alleged role in the coup and convicted of treason. While under house arrest, the Queen agreed to formally abdicate and dissolve the monarchy. And I'm going to stop there. Okay, and the last bit. And in 1898, the United States annexed Hawaii. Hawaii was administered as a U.S. territory until 1959, when it became the 50th state. And technically speaking, and legally, it's really not a state, because the Hawaiians never did. They only did it under duress. They only gave it up under duress. So that they weren't consenting legally to giving up the island and to making the island a sovereign territory for the U.S. I'm going to stop there. So we hope that you enjoyed what we had to share with you tonight. And stay vigilant. Keep your eyes open. Watch with your spirit. Keep your ears open. Hear what is being said in places where there's a lot of noise. Because when you're tuned in, you can hear when there's a lot of noise. Because there's a lot that's happening in our world. And the Creator's doing some amazing things. So again, we will see you on the next podcast. Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you here on Anchor by Spotify. Stay up, stay vigilant, stay sound, and we will see you the next time. Take care.